Well, here we are at the Bomb Shop again on Saturday morning, and it's our next episode of Saturday Morning Cereal. I hope everybody's had their cereal this morning. I actually had waffles, which is a little bit different from what I normally have, which is kind of nice for a change. And the cats have had the zoomies this morning, so they've been running around and all that. Are you able to see the chat on the thing over there?
I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I see chat reply, and it's blank, so I don't know.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Technical difficulties.
Banana.
Oh yeah. See, I'm not seeing.
Okay. Let's do a little bit of IT, like tech support here, and see if we can get your chat working. Let's see. Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
No, that's...
Is that an old one?
No, that's the one that's now. It's delayed.
Oh.
That's me getting up, coming over here.
Okay.
So, and here I'll chat something.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, Dave. Thanks for jumping in on the chat. Can you see me? Let's see. Away from keyboard.
everybody.
Be right back. Coffee. Okay. Well, Dave's got to go get a coffee refill, so he's going to go run and do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Coffee.
Okay. How about now? Did anything come up on there?
Yeah, stuff's coming up now.
Okay, great. All right, so we got the chat working for Vicky, so it's showing up on her iPad over there. And
Yay.
she is still working this week on Major Tom.
Major Tom.
So we're hoping that she can get a little bit more done on that. Oh, man. Well, it's been an interesting week trying to get all of her stuff done. And how has everybody handled the time change this week? Let's talk about that a little bit.
I'm still trying to get used to it.
Yeah, there's still some adjustment. It's kind of weird because, well, it's not weird. I mean, it's interesting because hey, Dave, welcome back. I'm glad you got your coffee refill. Thanks for jumping in with us and chatting this morning.
Good morning, Dave.
We're talking about the time change a little bit because last weekend we did the whole spring forward bit, and so I changed the clocks out here and changed the batteries and the clocks and and did all that type of stuff. But the cats stay on their same feeding schedule. So during the winter time when we're on standard time, I feed them at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and so they get their little meals and stuff, and then we have a couple of snacks for them throughout the day. But then when we do the time change, I feed them at 7, like when it moves forward, and then again in the fall when we spring back, I start feeding them at 6 again. So their meal time never changes, but they're still pestering us at least an hour out for food. So it's like they'll start to gather around knowing, well, it's going to be breakfast time here in just a minute. So they're milling around knowing that,
Y'all need to go hunting for those cans.
Yep. Start getting those dishes out and all that sort of thing. So, so they know what time it is in that regard. But now we got some stuff done this week as far as the Kickstarter goes, and I've got some pictures and stuff to show you guys for that.
Yay!
Vicky sent out a bunch of packages and everything, so we got a big load of boxes. I think we sent out 7 or 8 boxes.
There's actually more than that total, because I sent off nearly a dozen. Yeah, I think it was like a dozen packages got sent out this week.
Yeah.
Because I took a second smaller batch the next day.
Mm-hmm. So so you got all those boxed up, and we got those sent out, and dropped them off at the post office and everything. And actually, I got a message actually on Facebook that one of our backers said that they had gotten their package, and hey, look, James jumped in. Hey, James.
Morning, James.
Are you having cereal with us this morning, or you got some coffee or something? And thanks for jumping in and checking out with us. And Dragon Eye Miniatures has jumped in. Oh, that's awesome.
Good morning.
Thanks for popping in and hanging out with us. we were talking about the time change earlier, and then I was showing here that we've got the packages and stuff that we had sent off this week for the Kickstarter project. And then that's allowed us, that batch of stuff that we were able to send out has allowed us to go ahead and move forward with the next round of stuff. And so in this package, we were working last week on getting the Mecha Strafer and everything packaged up to go out.
And the cloning arrays.
So here's the kit of the cloning arrays. So you get the base, and
those
then there's
are cool.
There's three tiers to it that stack. They're modular, so they stack on top of each other. So actually, if you got two of these kits, you could stack them, like 6 layers high, and it just depends on.
Or you could just have like several different stacked cloning arrays in a, in a lab or a warehouse or whatever. It'd be a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So it's expandable, depending on how you want to do it. And of course, we've got the little fetus sprues there. They're the little human baby things in the cloning chambers. BBs. And then we had talked about doing some other things like maybe some fish or something, I don't know, brains or whatever. So we'll see what else we can come up with later. But at least we were able to get the Kickstarter packages and stuff sent out, and then we can kind of expand on that later on when they hit the web store. But these are all the sprues and stuff. Well, it's actually not even all of them. This is a selection of some of the sprues that are fresh out of the molds. That we had laid out to clean, and I got all this cleaned up, and Vicky packaged them up to send them out. So we were glad to be able to get finished with that part of it. Now, we still have some orders, from the backer orders that had gotten cloning arrays and strafers, but on the next batch of it, it's like maybe they had selected the GhNT Bot set. Okay, so that's what we're working on next. Yeah, you could put guppies or goldfish in the cloning array.
Yeah. You could have like a major aquarium kind of thing going on.
Right. Well, okay, and that would be suitable for Alante because they're little Alante guppy.
You could have like little dogfish or something in there, and
or betta. Yeah, that would be awesome. And they're like fighting each if they're too close. So, but anyway, that would be funny.
Chinese fighting fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, or are they Japanese?
Or I don't know. Are they?
I thought
they're fighting fish.
They're fighting.
They're really pretty.
I thought they were Japanese, but I can't. I don't have the.
I don't know what the proper name is, but they're really pretty.
But they had them at we went to the pet thing the other day, and they had a bunch of them up there.
I like their frilly fins. Mm-hmm. They've got these huge, really neat, flowy fins that are beautiful.
Siamese. James said they were Siamese. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, they're cool, and that would be kind of fun to put something like that in the little cloning pod.
Yeah.
So
it makes me think of that. The goldfish thing makes me think of that. Character in Megamind, that's got the little
Minion. Is
Minion. That his name?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And what's cool about that is there's an old, and I can't remember the name of it. There's an old black and white movie from the 50s or so, and the alien monster in it is basically this was all they had, like sitting around, but it's a big gorilla suit. And then they put like a space helmet with like antennas sticking out of it on the where the gorilla head would be, but it's just a helmet, right? And that's what the monster was in the thing. And when they designed Minion, like when you look at Minion, that's what he is. He's a big giant gorilla suit thing, but the helmet is a fish bowl, and it's got the little fish.
And it's got the little fish,
floating around inside of it. So that's what was funny about that to me. So it's like, you could do that. And I think it'd be kind of funny to do that with like a heavy combat or something. You've got like the little clear dome, because the collar on the heavy combat, the clear domes will fit on that.
Yeah.
And then you could put like a little fish or something in it.
Yeah, and you're right. They would be fun to paint.
Yeah.
But man, they'd be so small.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those little fetus sprues, they're pretty tiny.
They're tiny.
They are tiny, y'all.
Yeah.
Break out your best Optivisor.
Right.
At least for me.
Yeah. But the next thing that we're working on, so now that we've got that packaged up and sent out, I mean, there will be some orders that we'll be sending, cloning arrays and stuff on, I'm sure, next. But
yeah, but they're still waiting on.
But they're still waiting on this stuff
that we're
working on.
The last few things that we have to get made. So.
Right. So the thing that we're doing next, because it's kind of the closest thing that we could go ahead and start, putting on the printer, was the GhNT Bots. And the GhNT Bots set that we offered on the Kickstarter project are these like 3 different chassis, and I had sculpted these specifically for to kind of expand the range of them. So the one in the middle, we had that one before, and it had like guns and stuff on it. We had the EMT bots and everything that was based on that. So I had made some new parts. I've got the little lifts there for like little cargo lift things, and then the one over on the right's got the arms, and then we've got kind of a fire bot over on the left side that you could put the nozzle and the fire suppression foam tank or whatever that is that it sprays out. So this little set, and again, they're all modular, so you can swap the arms or whatever around. But then when those hit the web store, we're going to be breaking them out into probably do an EMT bot set, because we talked about that.
Well, we were going to do, and maybe y'all got some ideas to help us with that, because we were thinking about doing like a set that included the security bot, the EMT bot, and the fire bot. Excuse me. And then we were going to do with those round chassis like they've been originally. And then we were thinking about doing a set with of the new chassis bots, like utility bots, and do a set of 3 of those.
Yeah. And
you can kind of mix and match how you put them together. It's like you don't have to put them together the way they are in the picture. You can, hey, I want to put the arms on this guy and the forklift things on this other guy, and you can do what you want. But we were thinking about doing that, and then maybe like a set of the first responder bots. The most popular one has been the security bot, which seems to be the ones that most people need for their games or whatever. But thinking about doing a set where you can get 3 of them, but I don't know. And then we were also thinking about offering certain ones individually. But yeah,
particularly the security bot.
Yeah,
because it's like, well, you may want to have extras of those, or
because some people may not want to buy like the, it's like, well, I want the EMT bot and the fire bot, but I don't want the security bot, or vice versa. And we wanted to have it where, well, you're buying a package of 3 of something, and then you're getting something that you don't want. So.
Yeah.
So you can make sure you're buying stuff that is like, well, I wanted everything that's in the package. So
right. Well, Dave was asking. He said he loves the bots, and now he knows how to pronounce the name. And it's like, yeah. So we're calling them GhNT Bots, and that's how we refer to them, GhNT. Yeah. And it's just a contraction of like some kind of acronym or whatever in the counterblast setting. But where that name actually comes from is that when we were doing the first Kickstarter for Babes back in 2012, she's actually the master mold maker at Reaper Miniatures now, and her nickname was based on a character that she had created for their Star Wars role-playing game that they were running at the time. And so her character's name was GhNT Bot, and that's what they had referred to her as, and that's what everybody kind of called her. And so when she was making the molds, or actually it was before that. I mean, I had known her, while I was sculpting and stuff at Reaper and everything. So when we decided to do a little stretch goal for that little sidekick GhNT Bot, we named it after her because
the little spy bot.
The little spy bot, yeah, it's a little GhNT spy bot, and so that was kind of our little homage to GhNT over at Reaper Miniatures. So it kind of stuck, and now there's like a whole line of these things. So it's kind of expanded and all that. So, but anyway, shout out to GhNT. Thanks for letting us use your cool nickname or whatever for our robots. So, but anyway, so yesterday I had gotten the main chassis or whatever for the first GhNT bot. I got that sprued up, and then I was able to export that and get that on the printer. And so those printed overnight, and I came in this morning and rinsed those off. So I've got sprues of the chassis A, and then chassis B is printing now, and those will be ready this afternoon. And so hopefully here in the next couple of days or whatever, we'll have those all molded up with all the parts and everything, and we start running castings and stuff on that. So we'll have that running, and then Vicky's also been working on statting those guys out, or she may already have for the Counterblast role-playing game for the Savage Worlds RPG that we're working on.
Yeah, there's a bot document that I'm working on that has those in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, they just, basically a lot of them are, if they have the same chassis, they're pretty much similar. They just have different, most of them have different skills and different gear. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
They should all be in there.
Depending on how they're kitted out.
Yeah.
And then you had posted kind of a little background write-up or whatever over on the Facebook group.
Yeah, I thought people might enjoy just, having some, just, setting information on, this is who designed them and where they come from and, and all that kind of stuff. And how people incorporate them into what they're doing on their ships, or how they use them to help fix their ships or protect their cities or whatever.
Yeah. So we've got that out there on the Bombshell Facebook page, and I think it shared it over the group, so you guys can take a look at that. And that's just kind of a little brief overview. I mean, we've actually got stats and game stats and everything coming, for those guys later. The next thing that I'm going to be working on while we've got all that stuff printing on the printer for production on the GhNT Bots is I've got Alandi drives and the tail fin, and then this tail gunner section. So this little add-on module for the ship, what I wanted to do is kind of go in and see if I could figure out how to make the tail gun section, engineer it a little bit better than what I had on the Kickstarter thing, just to make it a little bit more useful and see if I can trick out some of the features and stuff on it. But the engines are ready to go, and the tail fin section stuff is ready to go. So that I can go ahead and export that stuff and go ahead and get that printing while I'm still doing a little bit of tweaking on the tail gun section. But it's still going to have that clear dome on the back of it that's kind of a tail gunner viewport. So that way, if you want to do a conversion and put a little guy in there or whatever.
The 25?
Yeah, it's a 25 millimeter dome. It's the 1 inch. So
cool.
So there's another use for that. So we can have something else to use those for. So here you can see kind of the interior of that. So there's like little stepping rungs for them to get up into the tail gunner seat, and they've got the little heads-up display and all this. And then I may run some little monitors or something over the top of it, or something to kind of add some details and stuff to the top of that area. But this all fits at the tail end of the ship there, so there's some details and stuff on the inside that would be kind of cool. And then the next thing I wanted to kind of tell you guys about was we posted some stuff over on the Facebook group and over on the convention site. We had submitted a couple of, actually Vicky wrote up a couple of demo games for the Counterblast for Savage Worlds.
I'm still working on them. Those one sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've got an outline. I mean,
Oh, yeah. I've got the outline thing. I'm just trying to, write them out now.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, there's probably a little bit of work, to do on them and kind of, tweak some stuff and all that kind of thing, or add some things, but you've pretty much, what the game sessions are going to be.
Yeah, I know what they're gonna.
Yeah, so she had written up a little summary and all that, and then we submitted those over to the North Texas Role Playing Game Con, and they scheduled those, they approved them and everything. So Vicky's going to be running a couple of sessions of that, and I want to say the dates on that are, let's see.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad y'all are enjoying those little, I don't know what you call them.
I don't know what do you
What do you call them? The little promo page things that I'm doing. That has the Counterblast Savage Worlds information on it and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what you would call them. I guess they're promo pages. They're like sample pages or whatever.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad y'all are liking those. There will be more.
Yeah, and actually we were talking about trying to work up what we had in mind to include on the Kickstarter project, and so we'll probably make it a little PDF with like a bunch of little one sheet type of scenarios and stuff, and plus what do they call their campaign thing? It's plot point. It's a plot point campaign.
Plot point campaign?
Yeah.
But there'll be a bunch of one sheets, and there may be like specific plot point campaigns, and it's kind of, I mean, to me it's kind of like, well, it's like an adventure path, I guess, because it just kind of gives you some guidelines on certain scenarios or adventure encounters that can happen and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it also gives us an opportunity to like introduce new NPCs or new creatures or gear or equipment, things like that, because they usually in the one sheet there'll be like a scenario, a very short kind of scenario, because it's not a big in-depth thing. It's just like, hey, we can play for an hour or two and have fun gaming and do like a little session. But it usually has at least one specific creature or person or something that it introduces and gives you like the stats and the information about. So that's they're kind of fun. I think they're real useful.
Yeah, and typically they'll have like a featured monster or featured non-player character, like a villain or something like that. That's kind of the main, focus of the thing. So we submitted our events to North Texas Role Playing Game Con, and that's going to be June the 2nd through June the 5th. So, first weekend of June. So we've got a couple of months to put, the details together for what we're going to need for those game sessions. And I may or may not run some Counterblast miniatures demos at the table. I don't know how much space we're going to... I think we're just going to have one space. So we may not have room to run, a lot of that stuff, but we'll have things on display. I know we're probably going to be taking the rocket ship, the Scout Ship kit to display. Whether and the goal is to have that stuff done, so we can sell some of them if we can get the war rocket done by then. So, but anyway, we're still talking about that behind the scenes and trying to figure out our schedule. I don't want to say too much and jinx, what we're doing on that. So, because the more that I talk about it, the less likely it's going to happen. It seems how it works out. But anyway, so we're looking forward to going to that show. And this is the first time that we've been to North Texas Role Playing Game Con. And
I'm nervous.
Really?
Yeah. I'm kind of nervous. I'm going to be trying to run something for people that I'm not that I don't know, and I'm gonna be kind of nervous.
But you've run role playing games before though, so I mean it's not like you don't know how to do that.
It can be kind of nervous.
I guess, but I think you'll be fine, and and we can run through some stuff before you go and do that.
Well, definitely. We're gonna have to. We need to.
But we we want to take some scenery, and we talked about scenery, basically tabletop terrain last week, so we're going to take some of that stuff, and this week a little bit later in the show we're going to be talking about gaming mats and all that. So we'll talk to you guys about some of that stuff. Dave, I wish you could be there too. I know you posted that in the chat. We'd love to have you come in.
I'd love to see a friendly face.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It'd be like, oh, okay.
But but Brett and I went before, and I don't know if you guys out there in Twitch land know Brett. He actually is the guy that worked with us on the first, Counterblast adventure battle game thing. So he wrote up like the rules and did all of that stuff. But he and I made a trip out there and kind of wandered around just as attendees and stuff at the show before, and it's pretty cool. And I saw some other game creators, writers, and stuff there for like a lot of different role-playing games and stuff. And Jeff Easley was there, the TSR artist.
Oh, wow.
He was at that, so I talked to him a little bit. I was like, hey, I've sculpted some figures for Dark Sword based on your art. And he was kind of like, okay. So, and I was like, yeah, but it was cool to me, so anyway, yeah. But that was fun getting to see him and some of the other folks. So I'm looking forward to going back, and I know there's some other game designers and stuff out there. Janelle Jarquez is going to be there. So this will be an opportunity to kind of meet her and catch up and stuff. I've sculpted some stuff based on her art too. So anyway, looking forward to doing that show and running these game sessions and stuff.
That should be fun.
Yeah, and so Vicky's been posting these little one-sheets. This is what we were talking about a minute ago. She's been posting these little kind of, one-sheet write-ups and stuff on, about the role-playing game. And so, hopefully you guys are enjoying looking at those and checking out, what's coming. And pretty soon we're going to be putting the Kickstarter page together for the Counterblast project that we're going to run, later in the year, just to kind of lay out, well, this is what we want to offer on the thing and what we're thinking the book is going to look like and some other stuff. And we'll post that link for you guys to check that out as a preview once we get all of that stuff done. And it may wind up being, close to the show, after the show, we don't know. It's just as soon as we get all the stuff put together that we want to post out there. And it'd be kind of a way for us to, keep track of like, well, this is what we want to do on the project. This piece of art here that we got, I can't remember the artist, but I credited him over on the Counterblast Facebook group. This is Zari, the character, and this is going to be a new sculpt. So I'm going to we'll sculpt that and put that figure out.
Yes! I can't wait.
Yeah, so she'll be cool. There's some other Alani and Shrenar characters and stuff that I'm working on for that. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I am still sculpting some stuff on. I showed that a couple of episodes ago from. Let's see.
Was it Urzarl?
That's what I was going to say. It's Urzarl, the black market guy. Yeah, so I got
marketeer.
Right, I got him blocked out, and what I'm doing is as I'm sculpting on that, I'm recording the screen capture on it, so I can kind of put a little time lapse together of actually, what's going on with sculpting that model, and then I'll probably try to film some of the stuff of outputting it and printing it and everything and getting it ready to cast and stuff so that you guys can kind of see that process. And so maybe showing some of that on our other show that we're talking about doing later on, which is the On the Workbench. And our On the Workbench show we talked about last week would probably be Wednesday nights. We're looking at doing that. It'd be like an hour or two with us working on projects and stuff here where I'll either be in ZBrush working on stuff, sculpting along the way, and you can kind of see how some of that stuff works, or we'll be putting kits together, and Vicky will be painting and everything, while we're doing some of that stuff. So you guys can check that show out. And the thing that's kind of holding us on that right now is I need to get some extra cables and stuff to hook up my other camera back over the workbench. And so as soon as we can put that into our budget to get some cabling and stuff, then I'll get that stuff set up, and then we'll start running that show. And then I'm also doing a show with Tom Mason and Bill Thornhill. So actually we're recording another episode of that tomorrow evening. And so we're talking about sculpting and stuff on that, and it's called The Sculpsters. And that's going to be over on YouTube, or I don't think it's going to be on Twitch. I think they're going to run it directly to YouTube because it's kind of an edited show. So I'll post links and stuff for that to share them around if you guys are interested in checking up on that. Because our first episode, we're going to be talking about how we got into sculpting and kind of how we got into the hobby or the business and kind of our backstory and all that stuff. So those guys are great. I enjoy talking with them and everything, and it's kind of it's an honor to be a part of that kind of a thing, talking about sculpting stuff. So the stuff that we're going to talk about this week is here on Saturday Morning Cereal is the gaming mats. And last week we talked about terrain and scenery and stuff, and I'm kind of a proponent of MDF terrain. I really like how that works. Okay, well, Dave was asking, when will the Sculpsters go live? I'm not sure. I know that we're going to record that episode tomorrow, and then it's going to take Tom like a few days to edit that, and I think he's going to put pictures and stuff in it and do that kind of stuff, and then it may be next week. I think it's is it the first of the month? Maybe it'll be the first of the... I don't know. It just depends on how long it takes me to edit that. But I'll post links. I'll share links once it's up so that you guys can go. You won't miss it. So I'll be sure that everybody knows about that. And I'll probably send out a link in the email list so you guys can go and check that out. We're only going to do the show like maybe once a month. So it'll be like a monthly type of show. I'll definitely keep you posted on where that's going to be, so you can check that out. But as far as we'll get back to talking about gaming mats, and I know I had posted some stuff over on Facebook and everything, about my thoughts and stuff on that. When we were looking at running demo games before for Counterblast, and particularly while the game was in development, before we had ever run the Kickstarter or put the game out, I was looking at some ideas for running, small, maybe 2x2 area, demo games that it would be easy for us to pack up and carry around and take to different shows and stuff like that. And I ran across these mats on the internet that was from Zuzzy Miniatures, and so I ordered a couple of them, and they're latex rubber. Okay. So they're made out of the same material as like the Halloween masks, but they're really thick, and you can tell that they layered them up to make some really durable gaming mats. And I had also heard that there were folks that would I guess carve hills and things out of the insulation foam and glue those down to panels, and then they would glue these rubber mats down to the top of them and paint them and stuff like that. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool because they've got all of these unique textures. So like the ones that I have, I've got one that's like a tarmac. So it's asphalt kind of a texture that you would use for like a landing pad or something like that for a sci-fi thing. And then the other one I have is kind of this cracked earth, like desert texture, and I did that as kind of a reddish brown. And the cool thing about the latex mats is that you can paint it with acrylic paints. And so, hey, we've got Sarge in the house.
Hey,
Sarge. Thanks for jumping in and chatting with us this morning.
Good to see ya. Or,
or see you in the chat.
See you in the chat.
Yeah.
There you go.
So with these Zuzzy mats, it was really cool because there's this texture or whatever on it, and you can paint them, however you want with acrylic paints. And so So, but the problem with it is like I had ordered those, and I was lucky to get them because like right after I had ordered those, they had announced it's like, well, they were behind on orders and they were having problems with their production and they had to kind of close down. So they haven't run any mats or whatever since 2015. And so I kind of got online and I was thinking like, well, how could I make, something like that? So I kind of had, looked at the possibility of, making plaster, because you have to have a plaster mold in order to cast latex and look at all the material requirements and all this kind of stuff. And that stuff's really heavy. And it's like, well, how you move it around and store it if it's like you're going to do an 8-foot by 4-foot board. And it's like, where are you going to put all that? So I don't know. There's just the logistics of it for us are,
it's pretty monstrous.
It's pretty monstrous. I mean, even if we were going to, run a Kickstarter to fund something like that, it would be rough. But so then I was looking at other materials, and there's a foam. There's a polyurethane foam that's out there that they use that a lot of folks are using for cosplay, like cosplay armor and stuff like that. It's flexible, and you can paint it with acrylic paints. So that might be a possibility. So I may, down the line, once we get finished with some of the other projects, I may get, some samples of this material and do some tests to see if we could put, some three-dimensional mats together. But in the meantime, there's a lot of mats that you guys had suggested. I know that James, which is in the chat this morning, and thanks for hanging out with us, you had mentioned the Core Space over from the UK that they've got some really cool mats, and I went over and looked at their website again and checked out some of the designs and stuff they have, and they've got some really cool looking things, particularly for sci-fi stuff. And so, but some of the other mats that I had ordered in the back time, Battle Systems is what that's for, and they've run several Kickstarters for their cardstock scenery, and I backed one of their sci-fi, the early one, for their cardstock scenery, and it's all the little wall sections and the board and the scatter terrain and stuff it's fantastic, and it's great because it's lightweight, and you can put it all in a box and just take it to the conventions and stuff, so it's easy to pack and carry around. So I really like the Battle System stuff. The other one that was posted over on our Facebook group was Deep Cut Studios did that, and I've ordered a Deep Cut Studios mat, and it's super awesome. And I think my favorite style from Deep Cut is the Space Hulk design, and it's got this kind of rusted looking deck plating and everything, and I like it's got like some kind of stenciled numbers and stuff on it and other text and everything. So and you can get this in like up to 8x4 and all the way down to like 2x2 kind of thing, which would be ideal for us running demo things. But what would be really cool is to have something like this where all of that texture and the little panel lines and the seams and stuff on that, and I guess whatever the little greeblies are in between some of those plates, if that was all textured, where it was it was three-dimensional, and that's one of the reasons why it's like I'm kind of stuck on that cast mat sort of idea. So oh wow, and we've got Stefan from Germany actually talking with us this morning. Hey, thanks for jumping in, Stefan.
Good morning.
It's good to see you, or actually see you in the chat.
Yeah.
I appreciate you jumping in. So with our demo games that we're wanting to put together, I'm kind of on the one hand, it's like, well, I'd like to do a custom board that we could put up and take to a show that's like, well, here's a unique thing, and set it out and have a really cool looking display. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, it's just Vicky and I taking this stuff around.
I'd like to have something that's a little more versatile.
Right. So we need to have something that's easy to pack and easy to carry around and take with us.
I'm not as young as I used to be.
And it looks like we have Novus Templar that's jumped into the chat. And hey, man,
good morning.
I appreciate the counterblast love there. Thanks for jumping in and saying hello. yeah, so when we're doing the shows, it's kind of a balancing act between what's going to be the coolest looking thing that we can set up and what is it going to be, what can we pack up and what's going to be easier, for us to transport and take with us, set up and tear down. So
plus we're kind of limited on space as we travel and take stuff to shows, so we kind of have to take that into consideration too.
Right. Because like if we were just going to be unlimited, where it's like, well, we can just take all of the stuff and all that, then it's like, well, then you're getting into like renting a van and there's expense in that, and it's it's tough to budget for that type of stuff. So yeah, so whatever we can have that's going to be the easiest thing for us to transport and load in and load out is probably going to be the best thing. So, and then we're back to the boxes and stuff. So that's what we were talking about this week. All right, let's look. Okay. Let me look back at the chat here and see. Man, we've got like a lot of folks that have joined us for the first time. So I appreciate you guys jumping in.
Yeah.
And hanging out with us. So, what do we have coming up this week that we're working on? It's I went through and I showed them the prints and everything for the GhNT Bots.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be sculpting on
the Alani tail drive thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, is there? You were talking about some new stuff. Do you have a new thing that you're working on, or?
Well, the last thing that I was sculpting was Urzarl. So that's most of the stuff that I've been working on. It has been like engineering stuff. So, I say engineering. What do they call it? Digital engineer. That's actually like an actual position that you can have now. Digital engineer.
Wow.
And that's somebody that takes existing sculpts or existing files and preps them for 3D printing and all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, I didn't even know that was a thing, because it's just part of what I do already. So let me see if I can open this up here real quick and see if I can show you guys. Oh, here we go. Hard surface stuff. Yeah. Well, it would be hard surface stuff, and like the stuff that I'm doing with the robots is hard surface stuff, but you could do that with organic things too, because it really applies to prepping the sculpt for production output. Okay, so even if it wasn't a robot, even if it's a character model or whatever, Sculpt Dude is a more fun title than Digital Engineer. Yes, I prefer being the Sculpt Dude. So there's a lot more hats that go with Sculpt Dude than just Digital Engineer. But okay, so like for example, in the ZBrush file, okay, like here's the. Let's see, that's the sprues. Okay, so I can isolate that. Okay, so this is the part that I started with, and so this was the actual sculpt, and it's all one piece now. So it's been Dynameshed. So the let's see. Yeah, so you can see that there's no individual parts to it. It's all been basically meshed together. It's what they call a watertight mesh, so that there's no holes or openings or anything in it. And it would be, for printing to make sure that the inside of it, that like all the little holes are sealed and all that sort of thing, because that'll cause errors or whatever on a 3D printer if it's output. So But basically, a digital engineer person would be, like they would import this part into their software, and in this case, I'm using ZBrush, but you could use pretty much anything for this. 3D Studio Max, Rhino, whatever you're used to using, Blender, for example. And then, like, our requirement is, like, how we're going to sprue up our parts in order to make them ready to mold in silicone rubber. Then, what I would do is go and make instances of this. So, in this case, there's, like, 3 copies of this, lined together. And then I've got these sprues that are attached here for vents and gates to inject the liquid resin in that. Okay, and so then this part, so that the digital engineer person would be the one that constructs all of the sprue parts and meshes all of that together and exports it, for 3D printing. So in this case, what I did was I put all the little sprue parts on there, and then I put these little vents and stuff on the sprue itself, so that could all be attached to another little piece of wood. So when that's turned upside down like this, and the mold is cut open to take this part out, there's a little reservoir at the top of the mold that will catch excess resin to keep it from running everywhere when these pockets are filled with the syringe. So basically, when this mold is cast, I'll take and put this, I'll fill the syringe with liquid resin. It'll go down into this part right here, and then I'll squirt the resin into this pocket, and it'll fill up, and the air will escape out this vent and keep it from forming bubbles or anything in the casting. So all of this engineering has to take place after the sculpt is done. So because you want over Vicky's mic. Oh,
Oh. Huh.
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys are having an audio problem with it. Let me see why that's not. Okay, it's got my pod mic. Oh, okay. How about now? Are you hearing me a little bit better? I'll wait. I think it was just turned down a little bit because I've got the mic right here. Mrs. Sarge. Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
thanks for jumping in and saying hi, Sarge.
In.
It's good to see you there.
Have fun shopping.
Okay, Dragon Eye says he can hear me a lot better now. Okay, that's
Okay.
good. So, okay. So then, in this regard, then let me kind of zoom in on that a little bit. Yeah. So when I fill that mold, so then so when this part is printed, then all of these little sprues and everything are already attached to it, and so then we'll make one mold out of that sprue, or as many molds as we need to make as many prints as we need to make for all that. And then let's see. Let's open up. Okay. And then the other piece of software that I use is GhNT Bots, which it's a free piece of software that you can download directly from GhNT Bots, and this is how 3D prints are sliced in order to go onto the slicer, in order to go onto the printer. Okay, so then once that file over in ZBrush is exported as like one file. Let me open that up. Print sprues. Okay, where's the STL? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so there's our chassis sprue. This is an STL file that's been exported from that, and it has all the little sprue parts and stuff attached to it. So that's one object with no openings or anything. So then I put that over into GhNT Bots, and then what I have to do at this point is set that file up so that it can be printed. think it's gonna. Yeah, there it goes. Everything is moving really slow because I'm streaming and ZBrushing and chitterboxing all at the same time.
It's like, you're asking too much of me.
Right. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So this is actually the print file. So this is the blue border here that you see is actually the print bed. That's the build plate that the parts build onto. And how that works is the build plate is like a big flat metal piece that that attaches to this arm on your printer, and then down at the bottom of it there's a resin vat that sits down here that has all the liquid resin in it, and then underneath that there's like a clear area at the bottom of the vat where it shines up a little slice of each one of these. And then what the printer will do is like it'll lower the build plate down into the resin, and then it'll build a let's do it from this way actually. So it'll build a little layer, and then it'll keep building these little layers as it pulls the build plate out of the resin tank, and so it builds the part like that. So all of these little supports that are holding the part in place keep there from being what's called islands. And so you can see that if a part isn't supported and it's just going to sit out here on its own, it's not going to be attached to anything, and it will stick to the bottom of the tank or the FEP, and it won't print. It'll just be a little flat chunk of resin that's cured, and that's all you're going to get. So you have a print fail, with that. So each one of these little areas that overlap, like this little edge right here, like a corner, depending on how it's oriented, you may want to put a little support there to kind of hold it. So as it builds up that part, see, as it builds each layer down, it'll hold that in place, and then the rest of it will build further down. So then that's where we got all of the parts for that particular robot. So those printed overnight. We've got those sitting on the table in there, and Vicky's going to clean those parts up later today, and then I'll get them prepped for mold making. Let's see. James says, let's see. We'll go back to that.
Does the software decide on the supports, or do you have to? Oh.
I have to determine part of that. It's kind of a combination. There's a little feature in here that's called auto support, and you basically you orient your part in the software how you think that it's going to print the best, and then you can scrub back and forth to make sure that it's everything is building properly, and then you can hit auto supports, and it will put supports in areas that the software thinks that it has like an AI where it's I think this is going to be the best place to support that. But then what I will do is I'll go back into that and check certain areas to make sure that everything that needs to be supported is supported. Let me go back and reduce this just down to one guy, and we can take a look at that. So like the AI, it'll think, well, here's kind of an overhang, in the top of this, so I want to put this little support, into there, or at this corner. So it's it's going to put a support at that corner. But it'll put little teeny supports down here on these sprue areas. And it's well, I want to have a lot of support to hold these big chunky pieces, because that's going to hold the weight of all of these parts as the rest of that prints, because there's a certain amount of suction that happens that pulls the layer off of the little clear plastic at the bottom of the vat. So each time it pulls a layer off of that, it creates, a suction, and it could dislodge the part from the build plate or from the sprues or, that kind of thing. And so More Than Dice has actually joined us a little bit late, but hey, thanks for coming in and sitting with us. I'm seeing you in the chat here.
Hey.
And printer and resin. Okay. The printer that I printed these parts on was the Frozen Sonic Mini 4K. And I'm also using the Frozen, what is it, the 4K gray resin for that. So, and I've had really good results. I was running it at 1.75 seconds, and I think that's a little light because the parts were coming out a little soft, and some of the little smaller supports weren't staying connected. So I think I'm going to bump that back up to 2 seconds and see if that'll be a little bit better and give me better printing results on that. So it's a little trial and error. I don't really have a lot of time in my schedule to do a lot of R&D with different stuff. I need to actually find something that's like, I know this is going to work and get consistent results for it. Consistent results with it every time. So I know that there are a lot of hobbyists out there that will try a lot of different resin combos or even mixed resins to get different results and that sort of thing. That's not really as important to kind of like what we're doing here because basically our output is not to put the model on the gaming table directly. Our output is specifically for it to be molded and cast for production. So as long as the parts will hold up to being molded in silicone rubber, then we're good with that. And we've broken a lot of parts, taking them out of the molds. The cool thing about it is I can just print another batch of them, and then when we need to make more molds later, I've always have prints on hand that we can go back and use. More Than Dice is looking to upgrade to a 4K printer for his small machine. Yeah. We've got 2 ePax printers that are 2K printers, and those are great for doing. I mean, I would normally run robots and stuff on this because they're. I've run Critterkins models and stuff on that, and the Edolisks were run on that, and they're fantastic. I mean, once I spray them with dull coat to get them ready to mold, you can't really see any build lines or anything on it. So it's a great printer, for doing medium-sized models. For our character models and stuff that has like a lot of little small tiny detail, like all of these little ridges and stuff, and all of the little details inside the robot chassis here. I wanted to make sure that those came out nice and crisp, particularly since we were going to be casting those. And so I went ahead and ran those on our 4K printer. And as far as the price point goes, for a 4K printer, it's really, really good quality. I mean, it's great. It's by the time that we mold and cast that, and you put a layer of primer on it to paint it, there's no way that you're going to tell that that's a 3D print versus something else that was hand sculpted, aside from the style of it. So, yeah. And I've been looking at the 8K printers too, because when you look at a 5mm face that's on like the character models in the scale that we sculpt in, for tabletop games, a 5mm face, you want the eyelids to come out, you want the eyes to be shaped, the nose, all of the lips and everything to, for painting and stuff, you want that resolution in there. And the photographs that I've seen of the 8K printers that Frozen's working on are unbelievable. It's for the price point. I know that trying to get that kind of quality print, when I was ordering stuff from Vision Proto, those printers were, I think Paul told me he spent like 80 grand on one of his resin printers from Italy. And then, the object printers are super expensive and all this. So for something that's like around $1,000 that you could put on your desktop that's going to print in 8K resolution, I'm sold on that. I think that's a really awesome thing to have with where, sculpting and miniatures and stuff is going these days. So depending on how the next Kickstarter goes, it's like we may have an 8K printer here too at some point. Who knows? But it's definitely worth taking a look at for that. So, well, it looks like we're coming up on 10 o'clock, and so here's the portion of the show where we're gonna wrap up and see if there's anything that I missed that I needed to talk about. Was there anything on your mind that I haven't covered this week that you wanted to talk about?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. So all of the stuff that we've talked about was, all the stuff that we wanted to talk about, we did talk about, and cover on that. So let's go back over here. Oops. There we go. I think OBS locked up on me for a minute because I got stuff running over here. So, okay, cool. Well, thanks for jumping in and chatting with us this morning. Just wanted to throw some stuff out there and let you guys know what we've been working on this week. This was our 4th episode of Saturday Morning Serial, so we've been doing this like a month now. And and it's
by in a hurry.
It has. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to keeping up with doing these shows and everything. It's a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys jumping in and chatting and everything.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and keeping us company. It's been great. It's a good excuse to get me working on stuff. Kai will be ready for priming soon. Yay! I'm looking forward to seeing Kai primered up.
Yay!
Be sure and jump over and post some pictures on our Facebook group about that. Let's see. Can you put your support specs for your machine on the web? Yeah. I'll take a screenshot of what I'm running for the Frozen and stuff on there, and I'll post those over on the Facebook pages and stuff. And also, if you guys, are late to the show and you missed watching it, you can actually go back and watch it later on Twitch. But I'll be porting this over to YouTube so that we can keep an archive of it over on YouTube, and that'll allow me to post links down below. So if you're watching this, after the show, be sure and open up that description and check out all the links and stuff that we have to find us on the internet and our other shows and all of that type of stuff. So let's see, I thought I only missed one show. Blinked and missed 2, I guess. Oh, yeah. Let's see, I'm looking forward to next Saturday. Oh, awesome. Well, I appreciate that. If you enjoyed hanging out with us this morning, we'd love to have you guys come back and chat and all that sort of thing. It's more than just talking out to the ether. So having the feedback is great. All right, well, we're going to sign off, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we will see you next week.
Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
Yay. Bye.
And gals.